The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. The crowds heard of this and followed him on foot from their towns. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place, and it is already late. Dismiss the crowds so that they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "There is no need for them to go away. Give them some food yourselves." But they said to him, 5 loaves and 2 fish are all we have here." Then he said, "Bring them here to me." And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up the fragments left over, 12 wicker baskets full. Those who ate were about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus. There is one word or one concept toward the end of our first reading that I think is really crucial. From the prophet Isaiah. And he says these beautiful things. And I feel like he's calling out longingly, like, can you please, I want it, all you who are thirsty, come to the water. You have no money, come receive grain and eat. Come without paying or without cost. I want to give you so much. Come, please, begging us. Heed me, and you shall eat well. You shall delight in rich fare. Come to me heedfully. Like, actually, don't just hear the words I'm saying, but respond to them, that you may have life. And then he says, I will renew with you the everlasting covenant. The everlasting covenant. And he specifically mentions the benefits assured to David. King David, one of the key people where God made a covenant or a special bond with David. But it was not the first one. He made a sort of covenant with Adam and then Noah and Abraham and Moses and David. And then perfected by Jesus. If you think about the scriptures, whether we have the Old Testament and the New Testament, well, the word used for testament could just as easily be translated as covenant, Old Covenant and New Covenant. And this is one of the most key ideas about the whole Bible that helps unlock the whole thing. The idea of covenant. And I think it's helpful. If you don't know it, it's absolutely worth reviewing. It helps to think of something that is similar but different, a contract. And there's a little bit of overlap of how they work, but some crucial differences. A contract, you're usually exchanging goods or money or labor perhaps. And the contract is, okay, I'll give you this and you give me that. You give me the service, I need you to paint my house, and when you're done, I will give you this much money. And one of the key things though is once that's done, it's done. Thank you for painting the house, it's done. I may call you for another project if I really liked what your work was, but there's no long-standing relationship that goes on forever. It's for a set period of time. Once everything is exchanged, then the contract is done. A covenant is not like that. A covenant is for life because it involves life. We're no longer just giving some service or money or goods, some products, but we're giving ourselves and we're receiving other selves, other people, other lives. And so the preeminent covenant that we can think of in our world is marriage. 2 people are saying, I will be with you until the end of my life. Or the end of your life. Death, until death do us part. It will last that long because we're giving ourselves completely, fully to the other, for the good of the other, out of love for the other. Another sort of covenant would be adopting a child. And there's something beautiful. I forget who I was talking with. Okay, now I remember it. I don't think she's here. But she was adopted. And and her brother was a biological child of her parents, but she was adopted. So she liked to tease her brother by saying, like, well, they didn't have a choice about you, but they chose me. Don't you forget that. But you know this, and if you know of experiences, I'm sure there's some of you who have been adopted or you have adopted others, there's something really beautiful and profound about that. Biologically, you're not really related, but there's something where you say, I choose you, and you're now part of my family. Period. And it doesn't always go wonderfully, that you could think of some stories where, it was just problems, whatever, but that's true of biological children too. But there's something permanent about it because we're taking each other's lives and we're sharing our lives. We're part of family. And it's that second sort of relationship, the difference between a contract and a covenant. God makes covenants with his people. He doesn't make contracts. He makes a covenant. And it's at least as powerful and as permanent. It's actually much more, but it's related to the idea of the permanence of a marriage or a family bond, an adoption. And that's something we could so often forget. And I think that's the key to understanding some of these readings here today. And I want to invite you to enter into the reality of this covenant. God has made a covenant with his people, starting with Adam and Eve and going through all those patriarchs that I mentioned, with his people there, the Israelites and the kingdom of Israel, and getting bigger and bigger until he gets to the church. And he made a covenant with his church through Jesus Christ. And every single one of us who have been baptized are brought into that covenant, that family. Every single one of you who are baptized, you are part of the family of God. This is great news. This should give us tremendous confidence as we go out into the world and either sharing this joy. I have an awesome father and he has extra room in his house. He wants to adopt you as well. I remember as a kid growing up, it wasn't quite to that extreme, but you could think of stories where it happens, where there's some kids you just get a strong feeling of like, you know what? They want to be over at my house a whole lot more than they want to be at their house. That's probably a sad thing. It tells me a little bit about where they're living. But in as much as we're able to welcome them in, at least to some degree, into our home, there's something beautiful there and they recognize it as something good. Our relationship with God is far more than that, and he has far more room at his table. He really wants more people to come into his family. And for those times when we're out in the world and people are criticizing us or ridiculing us for our faith, it also gives us confidence. I know who my father is. He could beat up your father. You have the confidence of, I know who I am and where I come from. I know my father. And so, you may hurt me. Economically, physically, those words, those sting, but I know my father. I belong in his home. Something that I've been suggesting to people in confession frequently the last couple of years, I'll offer it to you. I like giving penances that can be helpful to kind of move people along, and I don't like doing the same thing all the time. So I'm now sharing one of the ones that I'll have to come up with some more creative ones because I'm sharing it all with you. But I think it's worth doing. I encourage people to look at their schedule for the coming few weeks, whatever seems appropriate, and make an appointment with God to do something a little bit different in prayer. And I think every single one of us could do something like this. And it could be to go to a church and just pray before the tabernacle or an adoration chapel, something like that. If that seems to be where your heart is really pulling you, then go. But it could be something different, something a little bit bizarre or out of the ordinary, but something where you feel like you could enjoy some time with God. The first example that I always give to people is one from someone asked some years ago to do this, and immediately his eyes kind of lit up, and he said, I'm going to go on a motorcycle ride with Jesus through the mountains. Perfect. Something like that, where we could recognize, God, you've made this world beautiful. There's some evil in the world, yeah, but there's also some great beauty. And you've made it for me because I'm now your son or daughter. And you knew that was going to be the case. You made this world for me. I get to enjoy it. Now, we could enjoy it in the wrong way in the wrong time. We call that sin. But there's an appropriate way to enjoy it. And I think there's something good to say, yeah, I'm going to go on a trip, or I'm going to go on a hike or a walk, or I encourage people, maybe for some of you, it may be getting up early and watching the sunrise come up over the horizon. Just say, Lord, I'm going to make this little bit of sacrifice. I'm maybe getting up a little bit earlier than normal just to enjoy what you've made beautiful. That's it. I'm just going to enjoy what you've made. Or maybe it's setting aside some time to pull down that sort of spiritual book you know you'll really enjoy if you actually get into it and start reading. And maybe you make an appointment. Okay, you and me, God, it's on my calendar. I'm going to go through 3 chapters. Or I have an hour. I could do an hour. Or maybe using up some of the vacation time that you've been saving up. I'm going to take half a day off of work, and I'm just going to do something good with my Father. And then recently I've been thinking about this as well. One other kind of idea mixed with that. This is our right to do this. This is our privilege to do this. Something that's always marvelous with families and the little children, those still small enough that they could legitimately be picked up. Or they go up to mom or dad and and we all know exactly what that means. They don't need to use any words. We know exactly what that means. And they know that unless mom or dad are like really busy or really hurt or whatever, they're going to get picked up. Why? Because they belong to that person, and that person belongs to them. They have the right to enjoy being next to mom or dad. Or I'm expecting grandma or grandpa. Is this grandma and grandpa? Yes, okay. Where you just know they love me. I could ask and say, can I just be with you? And that's what that means, right? I just want to be next to you. Can you hold me? I encourage you to do something like that with God, our Father. I don't know what that is. I'd be curious to hear some of the ideas. So maybe I'll have this Mass again, I think, in 2 weeks. So I expect a report from all of you. But I encourage you to do something. Maybe it's just half an hour that you could put in, but put something in your schedule that you could legitimately look forward to. I'm going to waste some time with the one who loves me. He wants to renew with us the everlasting covenant, the family relationship that he started way back centuries and millennia ago, and he's given us a place to be part of it. What will separate us from the love of Christ? And he gave a whole long list, and really none of them, because it's a family relationship. We may run away from our family, but we're always connected in a deeper sense and in a more perfect way with God, our Father, and his Son, we could call him our brother, Jesus Christ.